Welcome once again to United in God's Work. I'm your brother, Chris Wallace. So glad to be hosting you on this journey. United in God's Work, what does that even mean? We're so glad to have a dear friend of mine and sister and a veteran of working to be united in God's work, Miss Delane Bailey-Herd. She is program director of Food for the Poor's newest department, partnerships. We're going to talk about what that department is and what does it mean and what it's doing. But I want to talk about your 17 journey through Food for the Poor. You've been just about all around the building here.
Just about, Chris. 17 years of this wonderful experience, and being here over these years, I've had the opportunity to be involved in so much of what happens here at Food for the Poor. As you know that, and each of these experiences that I've had over these years have literally been invaluable for every single step of my journey. I started out in the projects department. I was project manager for the country of Haiti for actually 11 years. And I became just engrossed in loving the culture, loving the people, loving the children.
And they love you.
And yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I got a chance to see, to journey with the beneficiaries who were going through such very, very difficult situation and help to journey them with them out of the miseries that we literally found them in. And I had opportunity to see how tangible opportunities were at our fingertips, and avenues that could be brought about to bring about transformation in their own lives. Chris, the thing I loved most about that is you could go into a community and would see abject poverty and misery. You could sit with the people, you could listen to them, hear their stories. And I had opportunity to come back home and tell the stories of those individuals that we came across. And within months after that, because of the power of giving that resided in our generous, faithful donors and the power of saying yes, which we'll talk a little bit more about, we saw transformation happen in so many of those lives. And within months, when you go back, you could not even imagine that these were the families that you saw a couple months ago because their whole affect had changed. They were now in clean homes, safer dwelling, and their whole facial expressions were just so different. And you would see people coming with a sense of gratitude. Some women were running you down sometimes with 3 eggs in their hands or beans, or I can't forget the family that came with the morning glory, the flowers that bloom around their home. They picked it and met us just to say thank you. And we had the opportunity to see that, but also to come back and tell our donors and our alliances about the power of transformation that resided in their giving. And I loved that. And, had the opportunity as well to take individuals who could not travel, to take them, but sit with them in their homes or in their business places, and was able to literally take them to the scene and talk to them about the power of their giving and the transformation that was happening as a result of that. And those who could go, as a part of Food for the Poor's transparency, we would invite them to come along with us. So they got a chance to see the people who were the recipients, and the recipients had a chance to see them as well, and had that glorious exchange. And so I had that opportunity to do that. And then, of course, a part of the fundraising department, and then, the power of the church, the church alliances, which I absolutely loved that being a part of that department as well, where the churches got literally motivated and became a part of transformation as a result of this. And then most recently, I have seen all of those experiences that I've had over these 17 years come together to be utilized in this department that I'm now a part of.
That's incredible. And now in partnerships, it seems almost like you're the assimilation, the symbol of the accumulation of all of these experience and what this department partnerships represents. How would you say that partnerships best defines the roadmap to being united in God's work?
You know, Chris, and you've said it right, is the fact that there's a conglomeration of all of what I have learned and experienced that I've brought to this new department. The opportunity to see, touch, smell, and hear, and then engage people or engage our alliances and invite them. The partnership is really an invitation to the table of humanity where people can come with their resources, whether it's financial resources or some of them may be just subject matter experience that they have to bring to this table of humanity to bring about solutions that's needed. You know, it's an invitation, and partnership represents a covenant, it represents a union, it represents relationship, and all of these come together. You know, we've found that poverty is multidimensional. And our goal is to bring about a holistic transformation to the people in the lives of the people who need it most. So when we invite people to this table of humanity, they come with their with various levels of expertise. There could be people who are experts at providing access to clean water. They're invited to the table. There could be people who are experts at educational possibilities in some of these villages, and they're invited to the table. There are people who could come with varying things. There are people who come with the resources, the financial resources that we need to be able to make the solutions possible. And as you know, we're bringing about a holistic solution in these communities that we're involved with. So we invite people who are in it for the long haul, in it to bring about this holistic transformation. And they're invited to the table. And this is what partnership is all about. It's relational, it's covenant. And we know that we as Food for the Poor, we can't do it ourselves. And so what we do very well. But there are others who could come in with their resources to really make the impact greater.
Delane Bailey-Herd is Program Director of Food for the Poor's newest department, Partnerships. And if you'd like to partner with us, go to our website, foodforthepoor.org. That's foodforthepoor.org. You can also be sure to like, subscribe, and share our YouTube channel to hear more great stories about how we all can be united in God's work. Now, Delane, we talked about how partnerships isn't just a department. It's not just an entity, a corporate entity. It's an invitation to see the power of saying yes to hope. You talked about a recent experience before we open the mic here that's a living illustration about what happens in partnerships when we form those partnerships, when we build those relationships with people who just say yes.
Yes is so powerful. There's such a beautiful transformation that happens when we say yes. And last year, we invited mission-minded, faithful partners, a panel of passionate speakers were invited to the table of humanity. And what we did was we came together to discuss the transformative power of serving those in the greatest need, with the greatest need, and answering God's call in the process. As we said earlier on, that we found out that poverty is multi-dimensional. And so people came together and told the stories of the impact that they had and they experienced and what they did about it when they encountered people who were living in such desperate situations. And you know what was interesting was that our CEO, Mr. Ed Rain, joined us at that table. And as you know, he had a powerful encounter on a mission trip to Haiti a couple of years ago. And as a result of that, he came to be employed with Food for the Poor and is now our CEO as a result of the power of an encounter. And in that event, we invited people to come and we shared a need. One man in a village known as Mayer, Mr. Espawade, whose name really means God is my hope, he cried for help. And this reminds me of the story in the Bible where, you know, this blind man, he cried out and said the only thing he had left was his voice.
Wow.
And he used it to bring about transformation.
You know what, Delane? I think we have a video for that. Let's stop and hear that actual cry.
Pat làm gì chứ, đi cô làm gì cô đem gì cho bắt cô phải cày, để làm gì bên gì cái bà làm gì bên malan, nhà mình làm sao gì, không có gì thì cô làm gì à, mua cô làm mua là, lại cũng làm gì, mình chỉ là làm mua là đơn, cũng làm bao nhiêu ngày cũng phải, cũng mà vẫn phải đi vào, làm chút là đơn, sao cũng nhà bố thì làm gì làm đi đâu, nhà làm mình ra đi là có. Menjadi membuat pakat kawat gitu. Tapi mayo samnya cipi mayo yo pokok pakai itu. Ibu ingat ada tu botol lauk gadela, ibu mau lah misul. Waktu itu gadela waktu wak mau lah sudah. Waktu lah kita mengitan di dan. Misalnya di pasar ada kali kan. Tembam dia awai buat di gom dia awai. Awal kita kukunyang ngadu hitalam mentigan we home no sanggup. Kawan, adi lewat gadi, mereka pagi kenbet cina mbak only, alhamdulillah. Dan nolak kaya lagi. Map laku ya bonje fo pasin dap di bonje gue kiuka gue bom gue, pasti pukul pamba kafe, gue mau gue simda nolak kaya tawin mana. Entah di bonje les yang pil pasti.
Wow, what an incredible story.
So yes, Mr. Espawade talked about the fact that his biggest prayer was that God would provide for him a home, a decent home to live in before he dies. And in the Power of an Encounter at that event, we shared this man's story. And our faithful partners came on board and said, yes, we want to help. So Mr. Espawade shared his personal story, but it wasn't so much just for him. It was for 30 other people in the village of Mayer.
Now, this was something that we have never done in this way before. It was a daring.
It was a daring. It was a daring step. But it worked because people came alongside. And today I can tell you, Chris, that not only does Mr. Espawade have a home, but 30 other people in this village who lived in a similar situation like Mr. Espawade, or donors or alliances or partners heard Mr. Espawade's cry. And not only did they hear it, but they responded to bring about a transformation in the village of Mayer. So now Mayer is experiencing safe housing and clean water and solar light. That village is experiencing transformation because this man cried and because our donors responded affirmatively with the power of yes, and transformation occurred as a result of that.
Delane Bailey-Herd, our program director from Partnerships. We're not done. We're not done. There's more to tell, and we're so glad to have you with us and continue the story about how we're all united in God's work. Foodforthepoor.org, our website. Like, share, and subscribe our YouTube channel. We'll have more of our story with Miss Delane Bailey-Herd. In the meantime, I'm Chris Wallace. So great to be united with you. We'll see you next time. God bless.
This has been a production of Food for the Poor, united in God's work.